going on, everybody? You already know it's the NFC East War Room, minus one team. My name is Paul Spencer. That is Dan.
What's going on, everybody?
And Dan, who's next to you?
Steve.
Good evening, y'all.
What's going on, guys? Hey, listen, we're minus one person tonight. You know, after we did a show on last night, the 215 boys, we had a special guest, Bill Furman's co-host from Philly Press Box. Chet joined us yesterday. Of course, he took the Eagles, but we had Joe Sullivan on the show yesterday, and I don't know what it is. Overnight, he caught a bug or something like that, because I think it's because he said the Eagles might lose this game to the Dallas Cowboys. He felt that kind of thing. So I think he didn't want to show his face on here tonight, you know, being an Eagles fan to this Eagle Nation out there. So Joe's not going to be with us tonight. We did offer the invite to about 25 Eagles fans, but you know how those Eagles are. When they're on top, they're good. But when they play a solid team, they go to hide this week. So, hey, if they want to hop on, let me know. The invite's out there. But 3 out of 4 ain't bad. You know, we got the Cowboys here, we got the Giants, and we got the Commanders here. So let's get this started for a little bit, guys. Well, Dan, let me talk to you first, fair man. Listen, what the hell's going on at 2-6, brother? I mean, I put a little standing there, Dan, and 2-6, brother. What the hell's going on?
I don't know, but really horrible start to the season this year. Offensive line played horrible. Defense didn't play well. DJ didn't play well. Got really close to being 4-4, but just unfortunately just didn't get it done. We average 11 points a game, so it's a horrible year in offense.
Yeah, I like how you said that. Dan. We were this close to being 4-4, like this close, but I think it was like this close, Dan. Okay, it wasn't like this; it was like that.
No, it was pretty close. I mean, but that's just the way it goes, and probably looking towards the draft again. But we got an easier game this week versus the Raiders, so maybe they'll get to 3-6.
Well, let's talk about this. Hey, Steve, what do you think about this Giants team sitting at 2-6 here at the bottom of the basement?
It's interesting because, you know, even though the Giants are kind of in the same boat as the Commanders this year with the results that haven't met the season's expectations, they're still a dangerous team from week to week. And, you know, we found that out, now 3 weeks ago with them, you know, when we only, had a total score between the both of us of 14-7. So basically, and it seems like, the Giants especially are that much tougher interdivision. So, when they play the Commanders, when they play the Eagles, when they play the Cowboys, it's just that, once we, just like this war room here we have tonight, it's typical that each team in the NFC East brings their A game towards the other NFC East team. And, that's kind of where they shine the most. But, like I said, I think it's, just I'm in the same boat as they are, that so far the results haven't met the expectations.
Agree. I don't know what it is. I mean, last year this division had possibly 4 teams to get into the playoffs. And this year, the Eagles are 7-1. Of course, they're still standing where they are. We know what they are. Dallas is making a push at 5-2.
Yep.
But who would have thought 3-5 and 2-6, especially for the Giants after that year they had last year, the push that they made too, sitting at 2-6. I mean, are we blaming injuries, or are we blaming? What are we blaming here? I'll go, Steve. I'll stay with you first. I'll stay with you, Steve, with this one. Why are they 2-6 though?
Man, so for the Giants, like, it's kind of interesting, and I've always been one to be wary of the big contracts, right? And like, I correlate it with baseball. I'm a big Orioles fan, and when we sign guys to big contracts, for whatever reason, the year after that, they don't perform to that big contract. And so let's be honest, a lot of the driving force in 2022 for the G-men was Daniel Jones. Whether he was scrambling, whether he was running, somewhere in the second half of the season, he minimized his turnovers, and, he was able to put them together for a playoff team. And then here we are this year that, whether it's injury, whether it's, just the amount of sacks that, I'm all too familiar with my own quarterback, or whatever, they're just not putting it together, like he was last year's campaign.
Agree. Yeah. I agree with you.
Can I answer that too?
You sure can.
Well, I think their schedule was really tough. I think they overachieved last year a little bit. I think the expectations might have been a little bit too high. And like I said, they weren't playing well as a team at all. Not giving Jones any time, and Jones was not playing with the same confidence this year. It's just,
I agree.
It just, and the schedule was really rough at the beginning. You play Dallas, you play the 49ers.
Yeah.
It's really not like they've had one good half of football. Well, 2 or 3 good halves of football, and that's about it. I mean, now they're getting a little bit better, but all starts with the offensive line, I think.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of the schedule here, you're sitting at 2-6. I mean, I would like to see at least maybe a 3-5 or a 4-4 at the best coming out of that schedule. But
Would have been nice.
it would have been nice, right? It would have been nice here, but
kind of should be. We should have, would have, could have, but in all reality, they do what they should do in the 2 games. They're a 4-4 football team.
Yeah, I mean,
and the last wild card spot's 4-4.
Yeah, you got some winnable games coming up, so you got to beat who's in front of you right now. This is your chance to make an advancement into the playoff, category here, a wild card at the best.
You can get DJ back. Their offensive line's playing better.
Mm-hmm.
Barkley looks like he's finally getting back into a groove, so we'll see.
Yep.
Playoffs, no, but we'll see.
Yeah, wild card, maybe. You never know. I mean, the NFC East is not what it is. You could make a push and get that 9-game win. Go on a 7 out of 9 win streak here. If you get that 7-9, you never know what could happen in a playoff spot.
Wild card team might have 8 wins. The last wild card spot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you hit 9, you might have a spot in there. But speaking of disarray in a city down there, my God, I don't think you guys have a defensive end on the roster anymore, Steve. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy 24 hours, and I guess the only good thing about that, as we hit that flurry of trade deadline activity was it gave me no shortage of stuff to talk about, Tuesday night on Commander's Gridiron. But, in all honesty, as much as I love those 2 individuals and, they weren't necessarily playing to the level this year of that first round draft pick that each of was spent on. They were definitely increasing production, but at the end of the day, like I fully get that it's a business decision, right? And football is business. And when neither of those guys are signed into next year, and there was already talk that because Chase Young was not optioned for his 5th year, that he wasn't going to return anyhow, regardless of how much cash the Commanders decided to throw at him. The business side of you says, hey, let's cut bait and get what we can get for these 2 guys. And, I can't necessarily fault the new ownership group for going out and doing that, and when you can basically get, a second round pick from the Bears, who essentially aren't very good. They're probably going to be, second or third worst team in the league this year. That pick essentially becomes an quote unquote, like an end of the first round pick, really, for us, so, but you're right. I mean, I looked at the depth chart the other night on the show, and I think we got 3, guys left, maybe 4 if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
But the nice thing that's really cool to note and kind of gives us some optimism going into this weekend was when Chase Young was out with his ACL and Montez Sweat was out with injury. And then on top of that, when he had concussion protocol, the 2 guys that are starting this week who filled in then actually made the defense better than when Montez Sweat and Chase Young were playing. It gives me a decent amount of optimism, especially when Tuhill, the guy you were joking with me the other night, who's this cat? He actually leads the team in sacks with like 6 or 7 this season. So, let the dude out there and let him roam, man.
Well, sometimes I guess it's better to use no-name bread than Wonder Bread sometimes, right? You never know, right?
Yep.
Wow, I tell you, what player do you miss the most? I mean, honestly, I'll say mine. I think Montez Sweat was a lot better player overall, what he's produced this year, because Chase Young's injury factor is just coming out of Ohio State. I thought he was the best thing, since the best defensive, end in the category. But the way he's played, Steve, I think Montez Sweat is your bigger loss.
So the only thing that kind of hurts Montez Sweat was he is 3 years older than Chase Young. So, for the most part, the higher ceiling was with Chase Young. Then he got taken into account his ACL tear. They kept him out for a year and a half. But here recently, and, you hate to say the rumor mill and the reports that come out once a player leaves, like any team. But trust me, the reports and media that has come out of DC over the last 2 days that basically said over the last, half a season to a season since he's came back has basically been all about him. Doing his own thing, not necessarily going with what's called on defense, no outside containment, reckless, abandon, which, unfortunately you can, if you look at the film, like there's credible evidence that kind of backs all that shit up, you know, as much as you hate to say it, you know. So maybe it was a good thing that he got traded, you know, at the deadline to go. So,
Yeah.
but you know, whoever comes in, look, let's be honest, Ron Rivera is not going to be back next year.
Agreed.
Martin Mayhew's probably going to be gone as GM. Herney's probably going to be gone too. So whoever the new coach and GM is going to be, right now, barring anything else, we're sitting on 9 picks in the draft, 5 in the top 100, with $90 million in cap space. But oh, by the way, we still got to figure out a third of our roster. So, it's going to be a pretty attractive spot for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I think
by the way, the new head coach don't have to worry with Dan Snyder. So that's probably the biggest bonus.
I think the move made a lot of sense because you gained assets for next year. Just like you said, it's not going to be a mid-level pick with the Bears.
Exactly.
It's going to be a top-level pick. So that worked out well. And, you know, let's just say Bieniemy takes over this team. It's going to be his weapons, his teams. He has 5 draft, you know, 5 in the top 100 next year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, you know, 5 possibly starters next year for you in his system, his recruits, you know, his scheme. So even though it's this year's a bad way, I think it's building into next year, into the advancement, the rebuild of the team. I think so.
Yeah, and you know, you guys can relate to this too, and kind of chime in here. But I feel the only thing that kind of works against us is because of all these picks next year. Like, we really have to stick this draft coming up. You know, so
for the most part,
whether that's talent evaluation, whether it's scouting, whether it's, you know, keeping the owners out of the fucking draft picks, whoever, like, we got to seriously nail, you know, in my opinion, 4 out of 5 of these draft picks that we're going to, 5 that we're going to get, you know,
that's the key perfect statement right there. You know, you have to pick on these, you have to hit on these picks because yes, you have 5 picks in the top 100, but you're not missing pieces. You're missing a puzzle right now. There are other teams, you know, pick and play, pick one guy out of the 5, you know, hey, you hit or miss on the other 4. Well, I got a plug and play player that's going to solidify my team in a better direction. You guys, there's holes. There's many holes, you know. So all the teams have built to the draft. Dallas, you know, they need the offensive line. They started with Travis Frederick, Zach Martin in the days, Tyron Smith, built pieces and pieces, you know. But next year, you guys got to hit the draft 100% because 5 draft picks in 100. And they're going to be top picks. They're not going to be mid-level picks either.
And, you know, a quick question to both of you guys, because both of you have pretty, you know, solid to upper tier defenses. And something that was
we just traded a guy too.
Something that was posed, you know, here because of the trade deadline, you know, when we lost both of our starting edges, was, you know, one of the local Commander insiders threw out a question on Twitter today. You know, should we revisit going back to a 3-4? Versus what we run now in a 4-3, 4-2 nickel, yada yada yada. You know, either way, it's a personnel thing. You know, because we don't have enough personnel to run a 4-3, and we don't have enough personnel to run a 3-4. But it, you know, makes somebody think. You know, would it be better to switch defenses and for us go to a 3-4 versus a 4-3? I don't know what the answer to that is, but you know, I don't get paid $1 million a year to figure that out either.
Well, the answer to that is I think you guys would be better in a 4-3 if you had the right category players.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Sweat, okay, and you look at Chase Young being your defensive end bookends there. They didn't solidify the 4-3, you know, and then you go to a 3-4. You definitely don't have the linebackers to do that personnel right now. So it's all going to come down to next year's draft picks. I mean, if you want to go out and get, you know, hey, you build on the defense here, you go out and get 2 solid, you know, defensive end first number 1 to take that end spot. You can get away with 4, you know, mediocre linebackers if you have defensive pleasure, you know, on the outside. But you still, once again, you got to have a true nose tackle in the middle. You know, the man on center there. You got to have a big guy there that can control with the arms like a Jalen Carter who can control, you know, the center, the guard, and the guard on the
Dexter Lawrence.
Right. You have to have that big body. But right now, it'll all tell you, Steve, which way they're going defensively next year, what they're drafting as well.
Who's their coach going to be?
Well, and that's the other thing too, right? Is this will be the first season that kind of gives us optimism and excitement because hopefully we can, now that we have a new ownership and a new coach, attract some decent, you know, mid-level or even one possibly elite free agent. You know, we haven't had any good free agents in probably 3 to 4 years.
But you have the money next year. You have the money. Definitely have the money next year. So.
Well, while I'm talking about trades, what do you guys think of the Leonard Williams trade?
Well,
for us, we got 4 picks in the top 60.
It's interesting because, I mean, you guys got some good draft capital for him. The question is whether that was the right draft capital for him. I mean, he was a pretty stellar guy on your defense. Let's not
More than what we gave up for him.
Right. Now he's going out to Seattle. You may only have to play them every so often or whatever. It's not like he's.
No, I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about the future for us and assets. That's why you make that move.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that's why management makes those moves, right? Is to garner that draft capital.
It's important when you're rebuilding.
It is. I think, from an outsider spot, you kind of wish the second pick was a little bit higher. Third or fourth.
It is.
It was a second and a fifth. Is that right?
Yes.
Third and a fifth.
Yeah.
But it kind of puts you guys in the same position as the Commanders on, hitting on your draft picks next year.
We'll see. We miss on a lot of them. So.
Well, the one thing I can say, at least you guys made some, bold moves this week. My team didn't do anything. They sat on their hands under their ass this week. Didn't do anything. I mean, we have the money to do. So we still have $20 million under the cap this year to go out and get somebody.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good from where they were leading the league. Over the category in the beginning of the year. Relinquished the money, found ways to get the money back, but we didn't do anything. I wanted to go out. Was my main thing is defense is playing great, solid elite defense for us. Offensive line is banged up, but we're holding our own there. Got some pieces to play with. Wide receiver set, quarterback was set. But my thing was we needed a bigger running back in this room here. Derrick Henry was out there. They offered him, but they weren't willing to give up a first-round pick, and a third-round pick is what they asked for. I don't care. Go out. I don't care you give a first-round pick.
Well, for Dallas, it makes sense because they're
right.
set.
That's what. Well, Dallas. That's why I wanted to give up that pick, the first round, because Dallas is going to be around 24, 25. You're not going to get a solid play. Well, you will, but you're not going to get a person of Derrick Henry's stature. And the thing is, running backs only go for $10 million a year right now. Go out and get the kids now to win now. They didn't do it.
Sign them for
the biggest thing, and the question for you, Paul, is what is Dallas's window with this roster? And that's one of the reasons why, when they evaluated the Commanders, they're like, look, we've had these 4 defensive linemen for, 5 years now, essentially, almost 5 years.
Yeah.
And we haven't really gone where we wanted to. So the window was closing. Back to your statement, like, I think it would have been awesome if the Cowboys would have, made a move for Derrick Henry or even anybody else.
Yeah.
Sure.
Jerry Jones has to realize that your roster, as stout as it is on both sides of the ball,
it's ready to win now.
That window is now or next season, and then
it is.
And then what's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah, this was the year right now. Even if I call it the rental program, you go out and get Derrick Henry release him for a year. Okay, because next year, you know what? You got to pay Micah Parsons. You got to pay CeeDee Lamb. You got these big players next year that's going to be paid. CeeDee is going to break the bank. Trayvon Diggs just got paid. He got injured. That's water already paid, money already paid. But next year, you're going to be paying $80 million to $100 million for both of these guys on our team. Go out and spend that $10 million. Go get Henry. If it doesn't work out, hey, I wish you well. We lost the first-round pick. No big deal. We have the pieces still. But at least you guys made some moves, right or wrong, but I don't know. But let's talk about this game really quick, the big game of the week, the Eagles versus Cowboys here. 5-2 versus 7-1 here. How do you guys see this playing out?
Like I said before, I think the Eagles are going to win the game, but I think it'll both be a high-scoring game for both of them.
Okay.
I know I'm going to eat these words, but I can honestly see the Cowboys winning this game. And the reason I say that is if my Washington Commanders should have beat the Eagles twice this season, Dallas can pull off the victory against the Eagles Sunday, right? And, let's be honest that, the Commanders should have won the first game when they took them to overtime. And if the defense wouldn't have screwed the fucking pooch, this past, the last Eagles game, 31 points wins you a football game in any NFL game, unless your defense gives up 30. So, we should be 2-0 against the Eagles. And I feel that, where we are as a team, the Cowboys are way above us. It's just a matter of which consistent group of Cowboys you're going to get on against the Eagles.
And I agree with that 100%, Steve. I think, just looking at that, exactly what you said, that statement, you guys should have won both games this year against the Eagles. Of course, you screwed the pooch in both ways there, but you look at category-wise, Commanders here, Cowboys here. It stays there. That's the very truthful there. But the thing is, which Dallas is going to show up? The Eagles find a way to win. It's not pretty, but they find a way to win. Dallas finds ways to win, but they find ways to give you the game as well. What team is going to show up? Do you get pressure on Dak and make him beat you? That could be. We're not sold on that yet. Which Dak's going to show up? Is Dak going to throw the ball correctly, read progressions, read routes, not look down CeeDee Lamb, utilize a Gallup, then Cooks, Pendershot, Ferguson? What's going to happen? Make him beat you? I'm not 100% as a Cowboy fan saying, well, we're going to win because Dak's going to have a game of his life. You have to play mistake-free football against this Eagles team to win.
And the blueprint for you guys is kind of there, right? Just by what DC did. Yeah. Sam Howell had had a great game against the Eagles. Only had one interception, didn't have any fumbles. They only had, I think, 4 sacks or something like that, which was unheard of for our team this year. So like they truly figured out how to play the Eagles off from an offensive perspective. Great the second game. Unfortunately, our defense just doesn't figure that out either. The other reason I'm picking your Cowboys this week only is because, and I don't want to say I'm superstitious, but I'm still going to believe in the long fact of our NFC East that there's been no repeat division winner in like the last 20 years.
True.
I don't see the Eagles repeating as division champs this year. Now, at what point in time of the season are they not going to be able to do that? It might start now with you guys against the Eagles. At least I'm hoping it is. But I still think that that's going to continue this season as well, that there's not going to be a repeat division champion.
Yeah, and the thing is, the Eagles, after they play us, they have a bye week, and then it doesn't get any easier for them. Niners, Seattle, Bills, they have a tough schedule as well. So, get that 3-game, 2.5-game lead because the bye week gives them that half game. But this division is up for grabs. And Steve, Dan, that opens up the door for you sitting at 2-6. Anything can happen. I'm not saying that's
going to happen. They beat the Raiders. They'll be 3-6.
I
think they play the Cowboys maybe after that, week 10.
I think it's 10 or 11.
Or 11, and then they play the Commanders again, I think.
And the crazy thing is, we have the Commanders. 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season. That's unheard of to me.
I could see the Giants being 4-7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy because even our schedule is super nuts because we have New England this week. Then we follow that up with Seattle, the Giants, the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Then we play Miami, and then we play the Rams.
It's tougher for you guys.
And then on Christmas Eve, and I forget in which particular order, but I think Christmas Eve is San Fran and then Dallas.
Okay, so
Washington has the tougher schedule on the other side.
Yeah.
We had in the beginning, the first half of the season.
Yeah, ours is back in
those teams.
Yeah, our season is back.
We'll play the Rams too. The Rams is the game I forgot about. Rams, Christmas Eve for the Eagles.
Yeah.
And then the last game of the year is the Eagles. So Dallas, the Rams, and the Eagles games are the 2 toughest games for the Giants. Everything else is the Raiders, the Packers, the Saints, the Commanders, teams like that.
Yep.
Okay. So, Steve, give me a prediction of the Cowboys-Eagles game. What's your score?
I don't know. Wow. I don't think it's going to be overly high because I think that Dallas is going to be able to figure out a way to kind of shut down Philly, right? Wow. And in all honesty, I'm going to go out on a limb, and even though you're missing, Diggs and your secondary isn't the greatest, but we'll call it here on the NFC East War Room. I think you're going to be the first team to hold AJ Brown to 100 yards receiving. He has not had a game under 100 yards receiving yet this season. For some reason, it's coming, right? It's just a matter of when. And if I'm going to put my money on the Cowboys to win this game, I'm going to say, hey, look, you're going to have to take out AJ Brown, Tanya Harding him or something, take him out of the knees, do whatever, But then, old man Julio Jones shows up and killed us for a touchdown last week too. But, I think Dallas is going to win this game. I'm going to say 30-24. It's going to be close. And I think it's going to be one of those, give you a heart attack in the last 2 minutes.
Just hope it doesn't have that heart attack for me where Dak throws that late pick.
But I'll say 30-24 Dallas.
Okay. And your bold prediction is holding AJ under 100 yards this time, right? First time.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Dan, what's your prediction on this game real quick? Then we'll go around
31-34 Eagles.
31-34 Eagles.
34-31 Eagles. I apologize.
Okay. I had the Cowboys 31-29. I think it's a late-minute field goal at the very end there. I think if McCarthy can hold on to his timeouts and not be the idiot that he is, hold one in his back pocket till we get down there. I love Aubrey. He can kick from 50 yards. We've seen that this year. Four field goals over 50 yards. Get him by the 40-yard line. Give him a shot. Win the game. Get out of there. See you later, Eagles. Whatever. Go to your bye week. But let's talk about the Commanders here against the New England Patriots. How about we talk about that for a minute? We get some final predictions.
I guess I'll start that off before I get some predictions from you guys for a score. In all honesty, it's going to come down to how our defense plays. Our offense has been pretty consistent for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. And
last week against the Eagles, Sam Howell was like ungodly accurate with the ball. He was like 65%, 397 yards, a ton of touchdowns, and like 1 interception. And on any given day, that is like the perfect recipe for a win.
Yeah.
Unless your defense is playing the Eagles and then they give up 38 points. The only thing that worries me is Bill Belichick is the defensive guru that however he must be like a wizard, right? That like he conjures up this magical defensive scheme for young quarterbacks that just messes with their head and what they see on the field and how to do check downs and everything else. But I think that we're at a point that our offense is good enough to handle that, especially with the offensive line changes we made for last week against the Eagles, by putting a new starting center in, a new guard in as well, and kind of mixing things around. When you go from giving up, double-digit sacks a game to basically having one of the best offensive line performances of the season, that's leaps and bounds for us. So, look, we're going to give Mac Jones and Bill O'Brien their points. We give everybody their points every week. But I honestly see the Commanders going to Foxborough and coming out with a victory to go 4-5. Look, I honestly think we're going to throw up another 30 points. If we can throw up 31 against the Eagles, 34 against the Eagles, and some high 30 points against some of the better teams, we can do it against the Patriots.
Great.
It's just going to be a matter of what our defense does. So, I'm going to think that, we're going to do like a 31-24 Commanders victory. And, we need it. If not, then we're just going to hear the constant weak rumblings again of getting rid of Rivera and Del Rio, like we have for the last 2 weeks.
Okay. What's your final prediction, Steve?
Like I said, I think the Commanders going to win like 31-24.
31-24. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Dan, what's your prediction?
24-21 Patriots.
Yeah, I saw you on the Pick'em show. You picked the Patriots.
I think they'll play well defensively, and I do get Hal played well last week, but I don't know if he's going to be able to repeat the same performance. But I think it'll be close. I think both teams will get in the 20s.
Okay.
I also don't know what the weather's going to be, but I'm going to pick the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Patriots here. And Steve, one of the greatest things that you said about there is Bill Belichick versus rookie quarterbacks. There's only 6 quarterbacks ever in Belichick's career that has beaten Belichick as a rookie. The last one was 2020. That was Tua Tagovailoa with the Miami Dolphins. Then it goes back to 2013. Geno Smith, Russell Wilson with the Seahawks in 12, Colt McCoy with the Browns in 10, Mark Sanchez at 09, and Ben Roethlisberger in 04.
That's not very much.
6 wins. 6 wins out of 21 times. That's pretty mind-blowing. It's just like the Jedi mind trick where he gets into your head and says, you've never seen this defense in your life before. You've never seen this. There is no way to beat it. It's just something about Belichick with rookie QBs.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's an incredible stat. It really is.
It is.
So, I'm going to go Patriots 23-16 here. I think, Steve, I hate to say it, but I think your defense has too many holes here. And it's a plug-and-play defense right now where, it's no name playing a lot better in some occasions, but when you go up against an offense where you can either spread the field out, I think there's too many adjustments that you make on the fly. It's not game situation. What you do in practice field is not what you do in game situations. So I just see it, being a disarray on defense. It's going to be close. You guys can score, but I think Belichick, I give the odds at 7-point swing to. So 23-16 Patriots. All right, Dan, let's talk about the bottom of the basement here. I mean, Antonio
both
Pierce.
teams.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, listen, if you guys win and the Giants lose, hell, you guys are tied now. Well,
yes, we are. Yep.
Well, the tiebreaker goes away, but But all right, Dan, your team. What do you think here?
I think DJ coming back. I think Barker's gonna have a good game in this game. I do get the argument that Pierce is coaching, and I do think they will be emotionally motivated. Typically, sometimes when you switch coaches, a team will play better. But I don't think that's. I think the way the Giants' defense is playing, they're playing versus is it O'Connell? Who's it? O'Connell? Is that the quarterback?
Aiden O'Connell. Yep.
So you don't really know what to expect from him, but I think Wink's going to throw some stuff at him he hasn't seen before also. So I think I'm going to say 17-10 Giants.
Wow, low scoring.
Because the Giants average 11 points a game. And even with Tyrod Taylor, they still average 11 points a game. Okay. So I haven't seen their offense be consistent with Daniel Jones all season, but most of the season he hasn't had Barkley. So, but I don't see them scoring 30 points just because the way their offense is so inconsistent. But I think they'll beat the Raiders and be 3-6.
All right, Steve, what do you got to score this game and a little thought about this game?
So I'll give a quick thought before a score prediction, and I guess I can kind of pose this question to Dan because it's his team, but even to Paul too. When your quarterback, and it kind of goes to the side of both teams, right? Vegas and the Giants, but specifically the Giants because it's Dan's team. When your quarterback is out for a couple of weeks of injury, how long does it take for your starting quarterback to get back in sync with your wide receivers, with your running back, with your offense? Is it something that may take a week or two, or is that something that because you've been the starting quarterback for a year and a half, 2 years, whatever, that basically you're plugging and playing right back in? It's kind of an interesting situation, right? Because the Giants have Danny Dimes coming back from injury.
Yes.
And the Vegas team is basically throwing Jimmy Garoppolo on the bench and saying, "Okay, O'Connell, it's your turn to start."
Yep.
So it's kind of the same predicament that both teams are in, really. I don't want to say they're both brand new quarterbacks because Jones is a lot more experienced, but he also has missed the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that.
Something like that,
So is he going to be as on point, and is there going to be some rust with him coming into this week?
I would say probably, but that's why I think Barkley has to have a big game. I think this is a game where you want to run the ball, get your run game going, get Barkley going, get a lead in this game, and your defense will shut down the Raiders. That's kind of how I think they need to play this game. But you're not going to have Waller in this game, so Waller will be out.
Okay.
But it kind of makes it like they were last year. He's not going to be forcing it to Waller. He's going to, Hyatt has developed a little bit more, but they don't really have a chemistry. But Slayton he's played with, Hodgins he's played with, Barkley's played with. But I think he'll be rusty for sure. But for him, is he going to be confident stepping in? Are they going to call the game differently, get the ball out on purpose, deliberately on purpose, quickly to get him in that rhythm? And is their offensive line going to play well? I suspect they'll play better. If the offensive line plays well, I think he'll be all right, but I think he'll be a little rusty. But that's why I think Barkley needs to be really involved in the game plan in this game.
Yeah, and super, super quick, I think the three keys to your game, and I think the Giants are going to win this game for starters, is one, if you guys can figure out where Max Crosby is on every freaking down.
Yeah, of course.
You guys will be fine. That's number one. Number two, if you guys, if Wink Martindale can conjure up some awesome stuff.
Yep.
Doesn't even have to be glitz and glamour, but just
the way they've been playing it, their defense plays
against that rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
You guys will be fine. And then it goes back to your big point of number three is, how involved Barkley's going to be.
He has to be.
Is going to be, the tail of your game,
Yep.
Through Barkley, you guys trust, right? But I think the Giants are going to win this game. Let's be honest. Vegas is probably going to get some points, but I think the G-men are going to pull it off like 17-10.
Wow. Okay. I'll say what I said about. Wait, I was grouping your question there, Steve, regarding QBs. Number one, even in a little league. Okay, I run my team up here. We have two quarterbacks. One is a high profile, 5'11" quarterback that can run, throw. He's my starters, taking 95% of my snaps.
How old is he?
14.
Oh, okay. And he's like 5 inches taller than I am already.
This kid is good. But then I go to my other quarterback, almost same size, like 5'5", good arm. But when I put him under center, it's a different cadence. It's a different sound.
Yeah.
It's different everything. I asked my center, I'm not gonna lie to you. First 2 snaps to my backup quarterback were over his head at his knees. And I was like, what is wrong with you? He's like, I'm hearing a different freaking voice, coach, a different pattern of speech. We go, trip comes left, audible left, Lucy, right, turbo one. He hears a different voice. And it plays in your head. Given the fact you hear Aiden O'Connell, yes, he played preseason. He's not getting snaps. Danny Jones comes back after Tyrod Taylor's
Yeah, but
voice.
he knows JMS's voice.
He knows him, but I'm just saying it's a different sound scheme. You have to get used to it, and that cadence goes a long way with your offensive line too. They hear that.
Yeah.
Ready. They know that cadence. It might be a half a second off. Where Steve's the starting quarterback, he says down, set, ready. That second millisecond on that ready, snap the ball. I come in. Ready. It's a different scheme. So this game, I think it's going to be a pattern of the offensive line. I think it's going to be Saquon Barkley, and I think it's going to be Brandon Jacobs this game. Those 2 running backs have to be quarterback friendly to that quarterback, being basically not a rookie quarterback coming from the Giants and Danny, but Aiden O'Connell. I think they had to be quarterback friendly first.
They have to try, but the key of the game is Wake Martindale is going to put a lot of pressure on him. He's going to throw a lot of stuff at him.
You got to show him different looks. You got to show him
and the way the Giants defense has been playing, it's not going to be an easy game for him, I'll definitely say.
I agree.
But I do think DJ will be rusty, but that's why I said that's why having Barkley is huge. If Barkley wasn't in this game, there'd be a lot more pressure on Jones, I think.
Oh, of
but
course,
there is, because he has to show he can play well, but let's not pretend like he's been in a good position to win games early on this year.
And another key is how Danny's going to run with that RPO. Is he ready to run yet?
Are they even going to do it? I don't know.
Right.
They didn't even say what the injury really was. It just said a neck injury. Like I've never heard exactly specifically what they just said. Oh, he has a neck injury, and I never really heard a lot of specifics on it. Like he could have been healthy for a week, and he was cleared last week. So
and the thing is, you better chip Max Crosby too. You better put a chip.
Oh,
on
absolutely.
him.
But Bellinger's been bad. Like Bellinger this year. Just one thing I'll say: his blocking has not been as good as it was last year. Last year it was solid. This year, 4 or 5 times he's almost gotten the quarterback killed. So
yeah. Agree.
Quick question for you guys, because both of you guys have gone through this actually within the last season and a half. How do players feel, or what is their perspective when your backup quarterback, and for you, Paul, it was Cooper Rush, Dan, for you, it's Tyrod Taylor. When you take the backup quarterback with the hot hand out and bring in your starting quarterback back in, how much does that affect your offense, and how do you think the players really feel about that? Like, I mean, I'm always been a big proponent in any sport. You ride the hot hand. Even if that means your $40 million quarterback is riding the bench. But, because you got to think that there's some, I don't know what the word is, like emotions or whatever, from the rest of the team, whether it's offense or defensively, when you've been doing well, with certain backup players, and lo and behold, here comes your starting quarterback.
True.
Back from injury, back from not playing well, or whatever the circumstances are.
It's a little bit of both, but remember, like, Taylor played well, but he didn't play that well.
Right.
9 points and 14 points. That ain't that great. That's the same to me. They still average 11 points a game. Their average didn't increase. Right. So he played better, but I think a lot of it has to do with our offensive line having Pugh, having Phillips, and our defense is playing lights out. It's really the only reason we've been in both of those games. But I get what you're saying.
I think
A
it
lot
goes
of
both
pressure on
ways. I think it goes both ways. In my
Yes.
situation last year with Cooper Rush, Dak was he lost one game, the beginning game of the season there, but then Cooper Rush comes in, goes 4-1. It becomes a vanilla play offense, but 4-1
Yes.
goes a long way. I don't care what you make season.
Oh,
He
yeah,
made
obviously.
$2.5 million. Dak makes $44 million. I don't care about that money. I'm not paying the bills, so I don't give a damn about that.
No,
But I agree with Steve. You ride the hot hand, but
they could.
just imagine how that plays into a quarterback's hand. I'm the starting quarterback. I go 1-1. 1-1. I get hurt. Whatever. Steve, you come in, you go 4-1. It's not the same offense that I run versus what you run, but you're 4-1. Well, Steve, you know what? I'm healthy, brother. Go sit the bench for a little bit. Get the clipboard. Here it is. Go sit down.
Mm-hmm.
That locker room has to think like, well, this motherfucker better not lose the game. I'm telling you right now. That goes a long way with me. Exactly.
Giants locker room blames Daniel Jones for the position they're in? I highly doubt it.
No, it's a different situation with injuries.
But I get what you're saying.
That. Right. But I've always been a person to ride the right hand, and that's any position. Basketball, baseball, whatever you have. Don't put a guy in there that's won you games, got you to the promised land, and then when you get to the promised land, say, you got us here. Now we're going to go back to our veteran here.
Well, if you think about it, that might have been what they did last week because they cleared him before that game. He was cleared like Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And they started Taylor anyway. So I think they kind of did that. They kind of said, well, Jones is cleared to play, but we'll give him one extra week and we'll put Tyra in it because he played well previously.
Right.
Yeah.
And now that the DJ must be fully healthy and Tyra Taylor's hurt, so you don't really have that option. You're not starting Matt Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I guess
he's going to have to prove a little bit for sure.
So the question then becomes with your crazy market of New York, and we know how crazy that is in the fan base and the media and everything, and how hard it is to play. How long are you guys going to ride Daniel Jones?
Well,
like if he starts faltering, is there going to be a quick reaction to put Tyrod back in, or are you guys going to be riding DJ?
A lot of fans already want Tyrod Taylor to be a starter, but he's hurt.
Okay.
And Tyrod Taylor played well, but like I said, a lot of it has to do with their offensive line did get better when Tyrod Taylor was playing. Some people think, well, it's because of Tyrod Taylor. No, it's because they have Pugh and Phillips. They have two different players in there. They get a little healthy, get DJ back. I'd like to see if he can have a better second half and finish strong. But the team overall didn't play well in all phases the first 4 weeks of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
I agree.
So we'll see. We'll see if he can step it up. He definitely has to.
I agree.
Without a doubt.
So let me ask you guys real quick. Are you guys going to be watching all 3 of these games this week?
If I can, some of them will probably be on the same time. My teams.
That's what I was going to ask is how many are on at the same time?
Cowboys and Eagles, probably.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching the game, of course.
Because that'll definitely be like the game of the week.
What time's the Washington Pats game on? Is it 4:25 or 1?
I think it's a 1 o'clock game.
Yeah, Cowboys are on at 4. Cowboys are on at 4. What time are you guys on again?
4:25.
Oh, then I won't be watching your game.
Yeah, Washington Patriots are 1 o'clock game.
Yeah. All right. So
some
definitely.
of the Eagles Dallas game.
Well, I'll probably have it on. I'll probably have 4 games at once, so it's not a big deal to me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, watching that stuff. But all right, guys, we're going to get out of here. Listen, of course, the only team that doesn't show up is the Eagles. They're truly scared this week, as we talked about earlier. But I think it's going to be a great game. Nobody's out of this right now. Even you, Dan, sitting at 2-6. Anything can happen. The biggest thing is barring injury. If Jalen Hurts goes down, Dak Prescott goes down. I don't want to say if Dak goes down. Cooper Rush can come in and manage a game with this defense. But anything can happen. Who knows? Who knows what happens this week? But
I think I figured out where Joe was tonight. The Flyers lost their starting goalie for the next month. So Joe might be strapping up his goalie pads, trying to see if he can make the squad tonight.
Maybe that's what it is. He texted me earlier and says, hey, his son, little Joey, was sick last night as I talked to Joe last night. And this morning he called me, said he got the flu. But maybe maybe he's putting his face paint on and going down to the Wells Fargo Center to open tryouts for, Hart down there tonight. So maybe he's trying out for the Flyers tonight. So who knows? You know what I mean? So who knows? Maybe. Eileen says, I am still mad. I wanted to see the Eagles Cowboys. That's what's kind of weird.
That game's on over the Cowboys Eagles.
Yeah, how do you
because
guys
it's
feel
local.
about that? How do you guys feel about it? Now, you guys know I get every game in the world. I don't care what it is. I'll find it on my
I don't
channel.
give a shit
But
crap if the Eagles. I want my team on locally.
But no,
I'd
I'm
be
just saying,
pissed off
how
if
do you
they're
feel?
on.
Say if you didn't live in New York, Dan, and Steve, you didn't live in the DC area, and then all of a sudden they put a damn West Coast game in your scenario here, a blackout game. How do you feel about that? Does that
I
piss you
hate
off?
that, but I want my team on.
So
I don't like it.
Unfortunately, it happens to me quite often because
Wow.
I live in South Central PA.
Right.
Yep.
So I will get Eagles, Steelers, and Ravens games.
Yep.
Before
It's the
I will
market.
ever get Commanders games
Wow,
on my local TV stations.
that's crazy.
So there's a lot of times
Sucks.
where unless I'm at work, I don't get to watch the live version of the Commanders game. Like I have to watch it afterwards on another streaming service or something like that.
That's annoying.
That's the way I used to be. Yeah, when I used to live in Philadelphia for 30 years, it's like, damn it, I can't get a Cowboys game on.
I've
What
been
is this
lucky.
crap?
Yeah,
I looked at NFL Plus, but I'm not 100% sold on it just because of some of the things that can or cannot happen with broadcasting of games. And there's been no definitive answer that I would get 100% of the Commanders games.
Exactly. Yeah.
NFL Plus, so I don't really see shelling out that money for that. But I'd love to find an option that I could somehow stream or watch every Commanders game with.
Let me know, Steve.
with no.
Put it this way, Steve. Put it this way: 2,200. I think here. Hold on. I'll tell you what I'm watching TV right now. Just sports alone, ESPN, all the ESPNs, all NFL, MLB, NHL, 1,224 games channels that I can get. I get every team in the world, even cricket. Put it that way.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I'll let you know. I'll talk to you about it. All right, gentlemen, you guys ready to get out here? Steve needs, God forbid he gets a call. He needs to go out there and save the world for us tonight. Dan, you need to save the world, and hopefully your Giants.
I need to go watch the Rangers Hurricanes game.
I'm watching the Sixer game as well because I got to do a post game tonight right after the game. So, guys, we'll be back on next week. Hopefully you guys all win. Screw the Eagles since they didn't show up tonight. Hopefully we win too. So
hopefully we have 3-1 in the NFC East. So
hopefully at least one team's going to go 1-0 this week, right? I don't know what team that could be, but at least one team will be 1-0. One of us will be. But until next week, guys, we're going to get out of here. My name is Paul Spencer. That is Dan Connor. That is Steve Loftman over there, and we'll be. Oh, Steve, when is the next time you're going to be on? Tuesday night again, correct?
Yes, Tuesday night, 6:30 is Commanders Gridiron, and we'll probably have tons more news to go with it. After this
well, at least you're not going to trade anybody this time.
Nope.
Dan, when are you going to be on again, brother?
Big Blue Power Hour, 11 a.m. Sunday.
All right. Until then, I'll be back on tonight around 10:30. Talk about the Sixers, and Sunday for a pregame show. So until then, guys, this is the NFC East War Room. We'll see you next Thursday night, 7 p.m. Until then, have a great weekend, and whoever your team you root for, have fun, get a win. Unless you're the Eagles, screw you.
Later, everybody.
All right, guys. Take it easy.